Well, joining me now is the chairman of the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, Sanusi Garba. Good to see you and thanks for your time. Well, it looks like a smiling moment for Nigerians because first the federal government had said, well, they were not going to look at any downward review, but you and your team sat down and decided otherwise. First, let's have a sense of how you arrived at this decision.
Okay. Well, the reality is the 225 Naira per kilowatt hour that we approved effective April 3rd this year was on the basis of the cost structure of the industry. So we took into consideration the cost of wholesale power and many other variables. But primarily, exchange rates plays a very big role in the cost of generation in Nigeria. So in the order we issued in April, the exchange rate used was for 1,468. And so in the last 30 days, we retroactively reviewed what the exchange rate is, and it turned out to be Naira has appreciated. It's now 1,225 for the month of April. So we now apply the new rate effective in May. So that's the basis under which we now arrived at the reduction in the tariff from 225 to what it is now.
Sounds exciting. Does that is that indicative of the fact that as much as we see an appreciable Naira, that there might be another review on this?
You know, under the revised MITO methodology the Commission is implementing, we do actually monthly reviews. Because under the previous structure in the last few years, it used to be every 6 months. We now look at FX, inflation, gas price, projected energy volumes, and so on. But because of the rapid changes in macroeconomic parameters, we decided to be doing it on a monthly basis, following very extensive consultations that we had about the need to reduce regulatory lag in our decisions.
You know, power sector is one of the main issues and that ultimately affects every strata of our national life. Yeah. And that is why some are also trying to understand this band A, band B. Yeah. Some had thought band A, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Garba, had to do with industrial areas where people, you know, the industry, so that you can actually shore up production. Mm-hmm. But now we're getting to see residential areas, you know, tagged, you know, yes, band A. So what's the idea behind, you know, putting residential areas in that category?
Okay, let me give a little bit of a background.
Good.
Okay. There has been for quite some time concerns about the right tariffs that Nigeria should be paying. And that's essentially the responsibility of the regulator to determine. So we had very, very extensive stakeholder consultation going all across Nigeria to sensitize Nigerians about the need to have financially viable sector. And an important feedback we got was that Nigerians actually desire service and generally are ready to pay for it. And therefore, when we came back, we now, based on the stakeholder input, now decided to now implement a service-based tariff, meaning that taking the input from stakeholders where they say NEC is only increasing tariffs without commensurate improvement in supply. We now say that, okay, public utilities, essentially DISCOs, will only be allowed to increase their tariffs or commensurate with the service level they are able to. So for quite some time we'll be implementing band A, B, C, D, but it's now so prominent because we have now selectively taken band A and say, okay, let's focus and deliver service to Nigerians. And Nigerians can now see that where you pay for service, actually things can happen. Our hope is that we'll be migrating more and more people onto better quality of service, and then the sector will gradually become financially sustainable. And then we can see all the investments that we've been asking for.
Better quality of service. That brings us to the supervisory control and data acquisition. That's a system that monitors, remotely and within your space. Is NEC saying that the 11 discos have their SCADA system in place? Because from our checks, not all 11 discos have SCADA.
Now, even TCN, the bigger network operator, is struggling to implement its own SCADA system. Few of the discos have SCADA within their own network. But for the purpose of monitoring compliance with service commitment under Band A, we are not using SCADA. We're actually harvesting data directly from the feeders. And the last review we did a couple of days ago.
How seamless is that?
Well, I mean, it's data acquisition. We have smart meters that are streaming data directly to the commission. So we are not relying on data that is given to us by the discos and so on. So the last review we did, I was about to say, indicates that 95% of the feeders under Band A are actually delivering Band A service and so on. Now, it's not absolutely perfect, the 5%. The order of the commission indicates that the 5% will not be downgraded until the disco can prove to the commission that they are in a position to provide Band A service and so on. So our aspiration is for the discos to now invest and migrate more people into higher quality of service.
Why the disco do that, the discos, while they do that, what then happens to that other leg that has a big splash of the federal government hold, the TCN? I know that could be a little bit tough for NEC to monitor, but the good thing here, I'm so excited that you told us that even NEC, that TCN is trying and struggling. So what form of investment does the government need to put into the new TCN, as it were, now that it has been unbundled? I see the smile on your face. That will make it more efficient, and we'll stop having the stories of collapse of our national grid. Mr. Garba.
I think from NEC's perspective, yes, investment in TCN and indeed discourse is very critical. But I think what is important today is actually optimizing the investment. A lot of funding is going into the sector, and therefore it's very important to ensure that the limited capex that is available today to go into TCN goes into ensuring, one, issue of reliability. Number two, ensuring that TCN is a service provider to discos, and therefore investments should be driven by the requirements of the discos and also load projections going the extreme end of the requirement. So a lot is happening, and one of the initiatives that we're looking forward to is beyond public sector funding. With the right revenues, it's quite possible for private sector to actually provide investments in all the networks and so on. In South America, you find many investors doing transmission lines and so on concession basis, and there's no reason why that cannot happen in Nigeria.
Well, it's a fine place for us to leave it, and we do hope we'll keep these conversations going. We'd like to thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission, Sanusi Garba, speaking with us tonight on Newsnight.